What is going on there, guys? This is Rob with 99 Problems But a Fish Ain't One. Due to some inclement weather, we are actually not fishing today, but what I did decide to do is to show you guys my brand new kayak for the 2024 season, which would be the Bonafide RVR 119. I'm gonna do a bow to stern on this beauty, show you exactly how I have it rigged, what works for me, and maybe give you some ideas in the process of how to rig your Bonafide RVR 119, or maybe how to rig your boat from a different manufacturer. If you guys appreciated the content, make sure you like the video and leave me a comment. Leave me a comment on something that may improve the video, or maybe something that you'd like to see on the kayak that I haven't done already. Or maybe even perhaps something that worked for you that may work for me as well. I'm all ears, I'd like to hear from you guys. After all, you are the reason that I make these videos, but without further ado, let's get into the bow to stern on this Bonafide RVR 119. So as the name of this boat implies, the Bonafide RVR 119, or the River 119, this is a boat specifically designed for river fishing. One of the great additions that Bonafide gave us with this RVR 119 is the ability to use a bow-mounted anchor that actually runs through the hull of the kayak and back to an anchor wizard there on my right-hand side. I did decide to use the standard anchor wizard anchor up there because I really like the way that it just kind of tucks into this grip. It's really in place there. It's not bouncing around a whole lot. It's very, very secure. And then when I go to lower it, it'll just drop down into the correct position. So as you guys can see, this anchor wizard is run through the hull of the boat. I did not have to drill any holes to produce something like this. It comes like this standard from the manufacturer. You'll notice they also give you this plate here to mount the reel for your anchor wizard. So this is something as well that you're drilling holes in this like almost ABS type of plastic and not the boat itself, which is very nice. So also new on this Bonafide RVR 119 is the addition of this rod strap. You can use it to actually strap down your paddle or the rod tips itself. It is fully adjustable with this kind of clip over here. You can also use it to kind of tether down any sort of bag or cooler or anything you have up in the bow of this boat. In my case, I usually use this dry bag and fill it with clothes or even camera gear or even a couple snacks and use this to kind of secure it in place. And this is one of those boats that comes with the dry pod from Bonafide, which is obviously usually used for dry storage, you know, your wallet, your keys, your phone, anything like that. But it also makes it very easy to rig a fish finder, which I have here. This is the Garmin Striker 4 that I have here. I actually use this same setup on my SS127. Which was nice because when I bought this RVR, I didn't have to do anything new. I can just simply swap off the dry pods. This is exactly the one that I use in the SS127, and it just pops right into place, and I have a working fish finder. If you take a look at the underside of the boat here, you can see where that transducer from the dry pod comes straight down. It is somewhat protected here from the actual plastic on the kayak, so it's not in danger of getting scuffed up on any sort of rocks in the river, which I really like that as well. If you decide that you don't need to use the fish finder on this particular day, well, it's a simple two-step process. It's a little bit hard to do with one hand. You can actually pop that directly out and switch it out with a different dry pod, which you can actually buy directly from Bonafide's website. Kind of almost where your feet would be in this boat is a great place to store your catch board. Now, if you have a hog trough, that's closer to like 30 inches, so it actually doesn't fit in here great. But if you get an actual catch board yourself, you'll notice that this board completely fits and fits well into this position. There's also just a slight gradient from left to right. So if you put that fish's head on the left side and the tail on the right side, it just uses a little bit of gravity just to kind of keep that mouth pinned and that mouth closed against the left side of the board here. I'm actually super happy with this next accessory here. You guys can browse all over Yak Attack website for something like this and you will not find it. It's because it's something that I created. This is actually a fish finder mount from Yak Attack, made for basically a fish finder like the Striker 4 that I bought originally and decided I wanted to rig the Striker like this, so I had no use for this piece. So what I actually took was basically a grinder into here and grinded out some plastic and actually used a roto grip placed in here to secure my net. I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like here. So now basically from this position, it slightly elevates the handle of this net. It fits in there pretty snug so it won't fall off into the water. But like I said, it elevates it, kind of gets it in a way that when I'm sitting inside the seat, it's easy to remove, pull out, and net my fish. The other thing I really like about this is if you see these little slots in here, it actually gives you a great place to store tools, like on a carabiner, or even used baits. For example, this is a spinner bait. Let's say I just pulled it off. I didn't want to put it back in my tackle box right away. All I need to do is kind of secure that, and there you go. Now it's out of the way, it's drying off, and if I want to switch back to it later in the day, it's there for easy pickup. Just behind where I stored my net, I did place this double header in from Yak Attack that I will use to store my paddle, because I primarily use motor as a propulsion for this riverboat, but you always need a paddle, especially when that motor decides to malfunction, so you better have paddle skills. This is nice and secured on the side of my boat, but it's also out of the way so that I can still fish, use the motor, use the foot control steerings, and not have any issues. Looking at now the right side of the boat, I do have a Yak Attack rod holder here on my right hand side. This is for the rod that I would actually be using, or you know, if I need to retie or retie leader or whatever, I need a place to store my rod, that's where I would store it. Here I did add a 4-inch piece of track from Yak Attack. This is actually a handle for my motor lift, and I will cover that a little bit later once I get to the stern of the boat and go over the Torqeedo and everything. Also on the right side of this boat is the actual skeg release here. I did use a label maker to put down and up on it so I can see it from the seat. I need this to be idiot proof because I would definitely goof this up. Especially if I was using my SS127 for a couple weeks, I would definitely forget which way's up and which way's down, so I added that. Finally, on the right side of this boat, I did also attach a little fish grip here. So if I need to take a picture of a fish, but I need to get it some oxygen, I just hook up the fish grips, drop that down, and then the fish will have some oxygen while I prepare the board and whatnot. Now the seat on this RVR 119 isn't quite as adjustable as the SS127, but it is plenty comfortable, and it is somewhat adjustable with these knobs here on my left side and my right side. I can move the seat forward or back, so if you have longer legs, shorter legs, and you need to use that foot control steering, again, it is slightly adjustable kind of forward and front. Now I do have my Torqeedo throttle mount here on my left-hand side. Again, it's kind of secured into this ABS piece of plastic plate that comes from Bonafide, and it is secured to the kayak through these 2 screws. So again, it's completely in line, so my gear doesn't catch on it, but I still have full use of that forward and back. Now one thing you should absolutely know, especially if you're going to run a Torqeedo on your RVR, is that you're going to need to add some sort of like nylon washer to these 2 front screw holes, because otherwise you won't be able to completely put the throttle in the forward position without hitting off the plastic of the hull. I'll kind of show you what I mean here. So this is kind of what it would look like if you do not put a nylon washer. Watch what happens. I go to throttle this forward and it restricts kind of the last 1/4 inch of movement there on the throttle mount. It actually hits this piece of plastic. So what I actually did to fix that was took some nylon washers that I bought on a kit from Amazon and used some marine glue and actually glued 3 or 4 of them together here. And that provides enough space underneath this ABS piece of plastic that the throttle mount, when mounted, will not hit off the hull of the kayak. So I've now added my washers in place, and if you notice when I go to use the full throttle on this Torqeedo, I no longer am hitting off the plastic part of the kayak. It is now silent, and I have my full power potential in this Torqeedo. On these RVR 119s, there is a great place to use this little strap to kind of secure your Torqeedo battery, which I really loved, and it keeps these in the up position, which makes it really easy to screw and unscrew, so really like that. If you were curious if the 16x16 black pack does fit into the tank wall on this Bonafide RVR 119, it does. If you notice, I have 6 rod tubes on there and it secures that just fine. Even have a couple rods in there so you can kind of see what that looks like. On my left-hand side, I do have that Yak Attack camera mount that I used for filming, which again is very easily secured here on this track. And now on to the most fun, but also the most expensive part of this walkthrough of this Bonafide RVR 119, which is my Torqeedo 1103 with the Innovative Sportsman rock guard, as well as the Innovative Sportsman steering triangle as well. I do have this set up for foot control steering, as I mentioned earlier in the video. It does run into the kayak through these little ports right here. That is something that you can drill. There are plenty of YouTube videos out there exactly on what drill bit to use, kind of what grommet to use, so I won't cover that in today's video. This Torqeedo 1103 is secured to the boat by this, again, this type of like ABS piece of plastic. I bought this from Fish USA. I believe it was for around $100. It's nice because it gives you these kind of handles on the side that you can lift your kayak or have a partner lift your kayak, but it also gives you the necessary holes to secure your Torqeedo in place. The other thing that it does is it does not cover up this hole that goes through the hull of the kayak and up to near where the seat is. And that's how I have rigged my reverse line here. So I still can use the reverse function on my Torqeedo 1103. So again, if we follow that up to this left-hand side of the kayak, you'll notice this little ball. And again, this is my reverse lock. I don't know if you can hear that, but when I pull it, it does lock it into reverse. So talking about the motor lift that I have on my Torqeedo 1103, I did not have enough leftover cable from Torqeedo itself, so I actually went to Dick's Sporting Goods, went to a camping section portion of it, and actually bought this kind of camo braided like paracord line type here. I do have it running through the eyelet, kind of doubled up on the carabiner, and then tied with an overhand knot, kind of secured in this position. If we follow that up the right-hand side of the kayak, you will notice it goes all the way up to a Harken pulley that is secured there in this track that came with the Bonafide RVR 119, and then it loops back and comes to this 4-inch piece of track that I have mounted from Yak Attack, as well as a cleat specifically from Torqeedo for the motor lift. As for this handle, I ripped this off an old kayak and I repurposed it for this function. Now what I am able to do is with one hand kind of grab this motor lift here on my right hand side and pull up on it gently, kind of lock it into position on this cleat. I didn't pull it hard enough, but you'll be able to see that that does lift in fact the motor. And again, if I want to release it, I just pull up a little bit and let it go. Slides back into position. And now my Torqeedo is back in the lowered position. So anyway, guys, if you have any specific questions on my Bonafide RVR 119 build, or again, ideas to make it better, please let me know. I wanted to make this video because if you see any kayak fishing videos from me this summer and say, hey, you know, I'm not familiar with how you're rigging your boat, I can go back to this video and show you exactly what it looks like, so you may have a better idea of how and why I did things in the way that I did them. But anyway, hope you appreciate the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time on 99 Problems, but a fish ain't one. Take care.